Logan Nicholas Klein entered this world on July 14, 2008 in Midland, Texas. By the time our story unfolds, he was an endearing, lively 11-year-old boy with big brown eyes and dark blonde hair. His passions included playing baseball and mastering his Rubik's Cube. Logan found joy in building creations with Legos and spending time with friends. He was the son of Stormy Lorraine Johnson and Nicholas Klein. His family also included his sister, Lexi Klein, who was born on February 18, 2006. Logan's maternal grandmother, Dorothy Holland, played an influential role in his life. On his father's side, Logan had the love of his paternal grandparents, Christine Barrow and John Klein. The story of Logan's parents began in the U.S. Army, where Stormy and Nicholas first crossed paths while stationed in New York. However, Stormy later left the Army due to a disability, transitioning to life as a disabled veteran. Just after Logan's birth, the marriage between Nicholas and Stormy ended in divorce. Nicholas found new love and remarried Christy Klein on May 12, 2012. They welcomed Logan's half-brother Jackson into the world in June 2014. Meanwhile, Stormy also remarried, giving birth to 2 more children, but her second marriage ended in divorce as well. After the breakdown of her marriage, Stormy lost custody of her youngest children. For a time, Logan and Lexi lived with their mother in Mullen, Texas, as their father was frequently stationed overseas. Teachers described Logan as a quiet boy who yearned for friendship. His shyness was so pronounced that school officials grew concerned, suspecting he might be suffering mistreatment at home. In response, they reached out to Child Protective Services on 4 separate occasions, but no investigations ever ensued. In September 2019, a major shift occurred in Logan's life. Logan and Lexi moved back to Midland, Texas, to stay with their grandmother, Dorothy. Stormy's struggles with drug use had made it impossible for her to care for her children. A mere 2 months earlier, Stormy had entered into a tumultuous relationship with the 32-year-old Corey Trumbull. Born in 1988 in Springfield, Massachusetts, once dubbed the murder capital of the nation, Corey Trumbull possessed a dark and volatile personality. He was entrenched in a crystal meth addiction that began at a young age. His cruelty extended even to animals, with an unsettling fascination for attempting to kill deer with his bare hands. Corey's body art reflected his obsession with death. In March 2012, he tattooed a tree on his back, which he referred to as a family tree. A month later, he added 6 gravestones to the tattoo, symbolizing something far more sinister. One of his tattoos featured a gravestone inscribed with the Latin words veritas and equitas, meaning truth and justice. Ironically, these words would take on a haunting significance later in the unfolding narrative. At this time, Corey's social media was filled with posts lamenting his life, oscillating between expressions of joy and deep despair. Corey graduated from Chicopee Comprehensive High School in 2006, but with no clear career path ahead of him, his circumstances were bleak. When he wasn't working at McDonald's, he was either using crystal meth or spending time with his younger cousins and nephew. From 2010 to 2016, he dated his cousin, Ashley Gibo. Following their breakup, Corey found himself homeless in San Angelo, taking shelter at the Salvation Army. In 2019, seeking a new beginning, he relocated to Midland, Texas, where he met Stormy in July. Just a month after their meeting, their lives intertwined as they moved into a Midland motel with Logan, Lexi, and Corey's 3 dogs, Chaos, Mayhem, and Aphrodite. Upon meeting the children, Corey instructed them to call him Daddy, a name that would carry chilling implications. A month had passed since the chaos began, and the family found themselves relocated to a Midland motel. Accompanied by Logan Nicholas Klein, his sister Lexi Klein, and Corey Trumbull's 3 pet dogs, Chaos, Mayhem, and Aphrodite, this new chapter was anything but idyllic. Upon their introduction, Corey instructed the children to address him as Daddy, a title that would carry a sinister weight in the months to come. In a twisted power play, Corey Trumbull assumed control of the household, even going so far as to label himself the Alpha. His dominance was palpable as the family was crammed into a single, squalid hotel room, its filthy walls marred by gaping holes in the ceiling. As the summer heat bore down, Ori and Stormy Lorraine Johnson, emboldened by their crystal addiction, coaxed both children into trying the drug. Just as troubling, Child Protective Services launched an investigation into the couple. They made a visit to the motel, yet shockingly failed to intervene, despite the glaring evidence of neglect and poor living conditions that surrounded the family. With Corey now entrenched in their lives, a sinister transformation took place within the home. It wasn't long before verbal and physical violence erupted, with Corey unleashing his rage on every member of the household. But it was Logan Klein who bore the brunt of Corey's violent outbursts. This towering figure, standing at 5 feet 10 inches and weighing 220 pounds, once mercilessly stomped on Logan's head, inflicting a permanent brain injury that would haunt the boy for the rest of his life. As a consequence, Logan began to suffer from frequent seizures, a medical condition that went untreated. Instead of seeking help, Corey and Stormy would cruelly slap Logan during his episodes. On another occasion, Corey callously kicked him into a wall, deepening the scars of abuse that Logan endured. Stormy, shockingly apathetic, never intervened nor showed any signs of distress as her boyfriend unleashed his brutality on her own son. Instead, she encouraged Corey's violence and even laughed at the sight of Logan's suffering, treating her own child with a chilling indifference. Dehumanizing treatment became Logan's grim reality. He was subjected to a diet of dog food and forced to drink water from a dog bowl. To compound his torment, he was denied access to a bathroom, left with no choice but to urinate on himself. Daily beatings became the norm in Logan's life. Corey would rain blows and kicks upon Logan's chest, stomach, back, and legs, wielding makeshift weapons crafted from smoothed branches reinforced with epoxy and electrical tape, designed to inflict pain without breaking. As Logan begged for mercy, Corey continued his relentless assault, striking him with the sticks while Stormy looked on, either laughing or joining in the torment when the mood struck her. In late September of 2019, Corey convinced Stormy to pull Logan and his sister Lexi out of school. He then delivered a cruel ultimatum to their grandmother, Dorothy Holland, declaring that she would never see her grandchildren again as they were relocating to Chillicothe, Texas. Dorothy's heartbreak was palpable as she refused to allow Corey and Stormy to gather their belongings. In a desperate act of defiance, she said a final goodbye to her grandchildren, who were confined to the back seat of the car, their freedom stolen from them. Following their departure, Dorothy began reaching out to Child Protective Services, her concerns growing more urgent. At that point, CPS requested a hair follicle test after Stormy claimed Logan was on medication for his mental health. Meanwhile, the family had found refuge in a dilapidated trailer, a far cry from a safe home. Though the entire dwelling was in disrepair, Logan's room was intentionally made the most inhospitable. With only a bare bed frame and no mattress, the space was cluttered with dirty clothes, some smeared with dog feces, creating an environment that was unbearably uncomfortable. In a desperate attempt to find comfort, Logan tried to fashion a bed from the filthy clothes, a sight that brought laughter to both Corey and Stormy. Logan was a prisoner in his own home, needing Corey's permission to leave his bedroom. If he dared to defy this rule, he faced brutal beatings. Around this time, Lexi, too, succumbed to the lure of Crystal, her own descent into darkness now intertwined with Logan's tragic fate. In the depths of despair, neither Corey Trumbull nor Stormy Lorraine Johnson held jobs, leaving their family trapped in the throes of poverty. Instead of providing for their children's needs, they relied on child support and disability payments to fuel their addiction to drugs. Concern for Stormy and her children mounted, especially as she had severed ties with family, blocking them on social media. Corey's only communication with the outside world revolved around pleas for money. He had stripped Logan Klein and his sister, Lexi Klein, of their electronic devices, isolating them from family and any semblance of help. Alarmed, Dorothy Holland, their maternal grandmother, sought a wellness check and persistently reported her concerns to Child Protective Services. Yet, despite her efforts, no substantial action materialized. On October 2, 2019, the family relocated to Wichita Falls, checking into the Red Roof Inn, a place that would soon become a backdrop of horror. They crammed into a single hotel room featuring 2 queen beds, a meager existence amidst chaos. The hotel reeked of neglect, its walls marred by holes, with no hot water and a bedbug infestation that turned the stay into a nightmare. Guests who crossed its threshold spoke of their experiences in traumatized whispers, describing the place as a cesspool of filth and despair. Crime thrived in the shadows of the dilapidated hotel, a fact well known to local law enforcement. Each morning, Stormy would bring breakfast to the room, but the decision of whether Logan could eat lay squarely with Corey. If the famished boy dared to sneak food, Corey threatened unimaginable consequences, vowing to sever Logan's fingers. For Logan, even the bed-bug-infested mattress was deemed a luxury he could not afford. Instead, he was condemned to sleep on the cold, hard floor, tucked away in a corner beneath the sink, while Corey's dog claimed the bed as its own. Cut off from education and human interaction, Logan and Lexi spent their waking hours confined within the hotel room. Their days blurred together, filled with television and the pervasive cloud of drug use. The family indulged in crystal meth, and tragically, Logan likely consumed more of it than actual food. As the oppressive December chill approached, the toll of months of abuse began to manifest in Logan. His frail body could no longer endure the relentless beatings, and his health plummeted into a rapid decline. First, he experienced agonizing pain in his feet. Lexi, desperate to alleviate his suffering, would attempt to massage them, only to be harshly reprimanded by Corey. Eventually, Logan's frailty rendered him incapable of eating. Stormy, in a misguided attempt to care for her son, tried to feed him chicken noodle soup. Yet, the boy's condition had deteriorated so severely that he vomited black blood, a gruesome testament to his suffering. Logan relied on his mother, but her assistance was sporadic at best. Soon, he lost his ability to walk, communicating only through grunts and faint hums. Despite the visible signs of Logan's deteriorating health, no one sought medical help for him. Corey and Stormy continued their brutal regime, slapping and striking Logan, oblivious to the critical state of his health. On a harrowing occasion, Logan fell from the bed and was unable to rise. Lexi, filled with concern, begged Corey for permission to assist her brother, but he coldly denied her. In a moment of despair, Lexi embraced Logan, whispering words of love. It wasn't long before Logan slipped into unconsciousness. Lexi, frantic, attempted CPR, but her efforts were in vain. She searched for a pulse, but found none. The chilling realization struck, and Stormy erupted in screams and cries, fully aware that her son had taken his last breath. Corey, in a cold act of finality, draped Logan's lifeless body in a bedsheet. One fateful evening, while the family settled into their motel life, a tragic incident unfolded. Logan fell from the bed, unable to rise. Lexi, concerned for her brother, pleaded with Corey for permission to assist him, but her request was denied. In an act of love, Lexi embraced Logan, telling him how much she loved him. However, not long after, Logan appeared to lose consciousness. Panic surged through Lexi as she attempted CPR, but her efforts proved futile. Frantically checking for a pulse, she found none. The reality of their world shattered when Stormy Lorraine Johnson, their mother, began to scream and weep, realizing the unthinkable. Her son was dead. In a chilling act of denial, Corey covered Logan's lifeless body with a bedsheet, further shrouding the truth. In a chilling turn of events, discussions unfolded between Stormy Lorraine Johnson and Corey Trumbull on how to dispose of Logan Nicholas Klein's lifeless body. For the next 3 days, Logan's naked form lay abandoned in the hotel bathtub, submerged in ice water, a desperate measure by Corey to stave off decomposition. Lexi Klein, Logan's sister, was granted a heartbreaking opportunity to say goodbye, to see her brother one last time. Overwhelmed with sorrow, Lexi apologized to Logan for failing him, her voice a whisper of regret laced with hope that he had found peace. Afterward, Corey and Stormy took the agonizing step of removing Logan from the tub. They dressed him in his own clothes and placed him in a wheelchair, a chilling find from the hotel dumpster. With Logan's body secured, the couple wheeled him out of the hotel and callously discarded him in a nearby abandoned vehicle on Kenzie Avenue, just off Old Iowa Park Road. Lexi, witnessing the return of Corey and Stormy from their grim task, noted their unsettling demeanor. They acted as if they had just enjoyed a carefree night out. Laughter echoed between the couple as they reveled in what they believed was their successful evasion of justice. That night they settled in front of the television, casually watching Futurama while indulging in crystal meth, their laughter a haunting backdrop to the horror they had just committed. A disturbing pattern emerges in many of the cases we've explored, particularly in Logan's tragic story. This trend often reveals a parent or their partner inflicting harm upon a child, only to realize that urgent medical attention is needed. What is particularly chilling is the failure to seek the necessary medical help. Instead, upon recognizing that the child is deceased, there is often a futile attempt to resuscitate them. It raises a haunting question. Is the intent merely to prolong the suffering of the child they have tormented? The complexities of their mindset elude understanding. What could drive these individuals to look at a defenseless child and deem them unworthy of medical help? The realization that the child is dead seems to bring about a grim finality to their capacity for cruelty. The first time I encountered such a case, disbelief washed over me. I thought it was an isolated incident, a mere anomaly. Yet, the recurrence of such tragic stories suggests a far more pervasive issue, one that is both horrifying and disgusting. In December of 2019, the grim reality of their situation struck when Stormy and Corey were evicted from the Red Roof Inn for non-payment of rent. Complaints from other guests about Corey's erratic behavior had reached a tipping point. Witnesses reported seeing Corey prowling around the parking lot, brandishing knives. When confronted by the hotel's general manager, Nathan Patel, about their overdue rent, Corey reacted violently, slamming the door in Nathan's face. The couple showed little regard for their obligations. Stormy's mother, Dorothy Holland, had been footing the bill for their stay, but finally put her foot down, refusing to continue after being met with hostility. Her frustration was palpable. No one would want to endure such treatment when all they sought was to help. Following the eviction, Nathan had no choice but to call the police to forcibly remove the couple. They departed the hotel at the end of December, but returned intermittently to collect their mail. Despite the hotel providing weekly housekeeping, they left their room in a deplorable state. It took an arduous month of cleaning before the room could be rented again, a shocking feat considering the presence of bedbugs. After leaving the Red Roof Inn, Stormy and Corey found temporary refuge in another hotel in Wichita Falls, but it was only a matter of time before they would leave the state altogether. As paranoia began to seep into Corey's mind regarding the police discovering Logan's body, plans to flee to California morphed into settling down in Las Vegas instead. The trio found themselves living in Corey's new white pickup truck. They parked at 3375 Glen Avenue, with their new residence being a large self-storage container rather than a conventional home. With Logan now gone, Corey's volatile temper needed a new target upon which to unleash his rage. As the days passed, Corey Trumbull's violent tendencies escalated, mirroring the abuse once inflicted upon Logan Nicholas Klein. Stormy Lorraine Johnson found herself trapped in a relationship-turned-nightmare, desperately wanting to escape the cycle of violence that had ensnared her. In the early hours of February 24, 2020, at approximately 4:00 a.m., Stormy seized a fleeting opportunity to flee. While Corey slumbered, she dashed to a nearby 7-Eleven, tears streaming down her face. Overwhelmed and frightened, she implored the store employee to summon the police. Officer T. Hogger was dispatched to the scene. Upon arrival, Officer Hogger assessed the situation. However, he found no visible injuries on Stormy and failed to detect any warning signs as he conversed with Corey, unaware of the true horrors that lay beneath the surface. After leaving the 7-Eleven, the nightmare resumed. Stormy recounted how Corey had resumed his brutal assault as they returned to the truck. In a chilling act of control, he wrapped a metal dog leash chain around her neck, securing it to the headrest to ensure she couldn't escape. He forced her to drive while simultaneously strangling her with the very leash meant to bind her. Their journey led them to a Walgreens pharmacy at Las Vegas Boulevard and Charleston, where Corey continued his assault, ruthlessly tightening the leash until Stormy teetered on the edge of unconsciousness. Finally, he relinquished his grip, leaving Stormy gasping for air, her throat raw and her voice strained. But relief was fleeting. With a ferocity that shocked even the most seasoned observers, Corey unleashed a savage beating upon Stormy, using his fists and a red and black sticker pipe to inflict pain, focusing on her right leg to prevent any chance of escape. Stormy was left with a litany of injuries, including severe pain in her elbows, fingers, right ankle, lower lip, and head. On February 26, 2020, at around 9:20 a.m., Corey succumbed to exhaustion, falling asleep in the truck parked at the Walgreens. Seizing the moment, Stormy fled once more. This time she entered the Walgreens and begged the staff to call for help. Sergeant Donaldson responded, arriving with 2 additional officers to find Stormy visibly battered and in distress. Stormy bravely disclosed that Corey was the source of her injuries. After she was taken inside the ambulance, Officer Palmyra and Sergeant Donaldson confronted Corey in his truck. Corey offered an alibi, claiming they had all been in the Walgreens together before he fell asleep, believing Stormy had merely gone back for a drink. He even asserted he could track her phone, insisting she was still in the store. In Corey's truck, police discovered the metal dog leash and the sticker pipe, the very instruments of Stormy's torment. Officer Jay Guerra attempted to speak with Logan Klein, but she remained tight-lipped about the nature of the altercations between Stormy and Corey. After this harrowing ordeal, Stormy was transported to Sunrise Hospital. Her injuries were extensive: a broken right shoulder, left elbow, fractured nose, right middle finger, left pinky, and a right ankle injury, alongside severe head pain, swollen and bruised eyes, bleeding lips, and multiple bruises. Medical staff confirmed the presence of several fractures, some of which had already healed, indicating a history of ongoing domestic violence. Given the overwhelming evidence and the nature of Stormy's injuries, the officers were left with no doubt that a battery with a deadly weapon had taken place. Later that night, at 10:45 p.m., Corey Trumbull was arrested, facing serious charges including domestic violence, kidnapping, coercion, and domestic battery by strangulation. Amidst the turmoil, Stormy was taken to Sunrise Hospital, where doctors documented her injuries: a broken right shoulder, a fractured left elbow, a damaged nose, and multiple bruises. The severity of her condition revealed a history of domestic violence, with medical professionals confirming that some of her injuries had previously healed, suggesting a pattern of ongoing abuse. As the officers assessed the evidence, it became painfully evident that a battery with a deadly weapon had transpired. At 10:45 that night, Corey was arrested, facing charges of domestic violence, kidnapping, coercion, and domestic battery by strangulation. The evidence presented and the severity of the injuries left no doubt in the minds of the officers on the scene. A brutal battery with a deadly weapon had taken place. At precisely 10:45 that same night, Corey Trumbull found himself under arrest, facing serious charges that included domestic violence, kidnapping, coercion, and domestic battery by strangulation. During an interview with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, Corey Trumbull asserted that Stormy Lorraine Johnson was under the influence of drugs and had fabricated the entire story. Logan Klein, serving as a witness, was reportedly coached by Corey on what to say. At the hospital, Stormy Lorraine Johnson faced an intense questioning session, conducted 3 times by Detective Metzger regarding her missing son, Logan Nicholas Klein. The two engaged in a somber dialogue at the trauma bay of a Las Vegas hospital. During this critical moment, Stormy spoke on the phone with her mother, Dorothy Holland, and handed the phone to Detective Metzger. At one point, Dorothy inquired about the well-being of the children, prompting a visible wave of discomfort from Stormy. After hours of relentless questioning, she finally broke down, revealing that Logan had died in Texas on February 27th. In response to Stormy's admission, the Wichita Falls Police Department was dispatched to the Red Roof Inn to search for Logan's body. Detective Bailey, on the hunt for clues, meticulously searched the nearby areas surrounding the hotel. It was then that he stumbled upon an abandoned house, marked by an old Ford parked in the driveway. This derelict house sat merely half a block away from the Red Roof Inn. As Detective Bailey approached the vehicle, a faint yet unmistakable odor of decomposition wafted toward him. Peering through the rearview window, he was met with a haunting sight: 2 white tennis shoes, seemingly occupied by ankles, along with the cuff of a pair of blue jeans. Without hesitation, Detective Bailey shifted his focus to the driver's side window, where piles of clothing caught his attention. As he maneuvered around to the passenger's side, the stench of decay intensified, chilling him to the core. The horrific discovery was soon laid bare. Logan's body was severely decomposed, curled into a fetal position, with insects feasting on his flesh. The scene was gut-wrenching, and it became painfully clear to Detective Bailey that Logan's body had been abandoned in the vehicle for an extended period, a grim act of convenience by his perpetrators. As Detective Bailey surveyed the scene, he noted the absence of bloodstains on Logan's clothing, a chilling indication that he had been dressed post-mortem. Understanding the gravity of the situation, he swiftly sealed off the crime scene. The Criminal Investigation Division, alongside the Wichita Falls Police Department impound facility, was notified to carefully extract Logan from the vehicle, ensuring that none of his decomposed remains fell apart. Wrapped gently in the tarp he had been found on, Logan's body was treated with the utmost care. The vehicle, A grim vessel of evidence was then towed by a rollback wrecker and transported to the evidence bay of the Wichita Falls Police Department impound facility. Following identification through a hair sample, Logan was sent for an autopsy, conducted by the Dallas County Medical Examiner. Dr. Stephen Hastings, the medical examiner, faced the challenging task of determining a cause of death amid the advanced decomposition. Despite the obstacles, he identified hemorrhaging in Logan's deep tissues. Further examination revealed additional bleeding in the soft tissues. Logan's skeletal structure bore the marks of severe trauma, with multiple fractures evident in both his left and right nasal bones, as well as the upper jaw. Discoloration across his body hinted at an even darker truth. Bruises and contusions littered Logan's body, each one a testament to the extensive blunt force trauma he had endured. His skin bore numerous lacerations and tears, indicating a brutal assault. One particularly deep tear even reached the bone. As the autopsy unfolded, the Criminal Investigation Division of the Wichita Falls Police Department conducted their own search in one of the vacant rooms at the Red Roof Inn. It was there that they discovered a bloodstain, approximately a half-inch wide, ominously situated near the shower. Inside the dimly lit bathroom, investigators meticulously swabbed a bloodstain, their findings confirming their worst fears. The blood belonged to Logan Nicholas Klein. In an unsettling account, Nathan Patel, the property manager, described his tenant, Corey Trumbull, as erratic and strange. He recalled how Logan and his sister, Lexi, appeared withdrawn, cloaked in the same clothes day after day, devoid of joy or laughter. Natan noted that their presence was fleeting, often only spotted at breakfast for a brief period before Stormy Lorraine Johnson, their mother, began bringing meals back to their room. The atmosphere grew heavier as authorities realized the severity of the situation. Wichita County had already issued fugitive warrants for both Corey and Stormy. By March 2nd, Corey Trumbull was taken into custody, his bond set at an astonishing $3 million, after being extradited from the Clark County Detention Center in Las Vegas. Meanwhile, the Wichita County Sheriff's Office reached out to the Las Vegas Police Criminal Apprehension Team Fugitive Task Force in pursuit of Stormy, who was also wanted on a full extradition warrant from Wichita Falls. Stormy was apprehended and booked at the Clark County Detention Center on February 29th, with a bond set at $125 million. She was later extradited to Wichita County Jail, where the gravity of her actions began to sink in. Corey Trumbull was charged with the capital murder of his girlfriend's young son. Stormy found herself booked into the Clark County Detention Center on February 29, 2023, her bond set at an astonishing $1.25 million. Shortly thereafter, she was extradited to the Wichita County Jail. Meanwhile, Corey Trumbull faced even graver charges: capital murder, a shadow looming over him as the case unfolded. The weight of the courtroom was palpable when Corey's trial commenced at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, August 22, 2023. Presided over by Judge Jeff McKnight, the proceedings attracted a jury composed of 6 men and 6 women, all witnessing the harrowing details of the case. Leading the prosecution were Richard County District Attorney John Gillespie and Assistant District Attorney Kyle Lesser. Defending Corey was a team from the Wichita County Public Defender's Office, headed by William Hall and Gant Grimes, their task daunting as they fought to shield him from the consequences of his actions. Corey pled not guilty to all charges, shockingly claiming that Logan, a mere child, had engaged in BDSM and had asked him to inflict pain. Lexi, however, painted a starkly different picture, testifying that before Corey's arrival her brother had been a vibrant, healthy boy. The prosecution underscored the tragedy that unfolded after Corey entered their lives, noting that Logan didn't survive beyond that year. With tears streaming down her face, Lexi recounted how, once free from the drug-induced fog Corey had cast over her, she recognized the manipulation that had kept her silent and compliant. In a haunting revelation, Lexi also testified that both Corey and Stormy had mutilated Logan's corpse, a detail that sent shivers through the courtroom. As the trial progressed, Corey's sentencing hearing was scheduled for August 29, 2023. The jury's deliberation was swift, a mere 16 minutes, perhaps the fastest verdict ever witnessed. They found Corey guilty on all charges, leading the judge to sentence him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In March 2024, Corey attempted to appeal his conviction for capital murder. In his appeal, he argued that the prosecution had failed to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, claiming that his conviction should be overturned. Moreover, he contended that the charges against him were based on speculation rather than concrete evidence. Meanwhile, Stormy Johnson, facing her own reckoning, pled guilty to felony murder and tampering with evidence. Her sentencing followed in early September 2023, marking a grim conclusion to a tragic saga that forever altered the lives of those involved. In a chilling verdict, Stormy Lorraine Johnson received a life sentence with a minimum of 20 years behind bars, while Corey's appeal lingered in the shadows of the judicial system. Following the tragic death of her brother, Logan Nicholas Klein, Lexi Klein found solace with her maternal grandmother in September 2021. As time passed, the tides of fate carried her to Germany, where her father, Nicholas Klein, was stationed for 3 years. In a moment of renewed hope, Lexi took to Facebook, sharing that she had encountered many new faces and was happier than ever before. Upon reaching her 18th birthday, she returned to Wichita Falls, stepping back into the stark reality to testify at the trials of Corey Trumbull and Stormy Lorraine Johnson. After that crucial chapter, Lexi made her way back to Mullen, seeking to rebuild her life amidst the remnants of her family's tragedy. In Texas, a community mourned the loss of an innocent life. After discovering the lifeless body of Logan Nicholas Klein, they came together to honor the 11-year-old boy who had recently moved in with his grandmother, following his graduation from Mullen High School. A candlelight vigil took place at the Angel of Hope Memorial Garden. Dozens gathered, including neighbors and his 5th-grade teacher, Carrie Pulowski. The atmosphere was heavy with grief as the residents of Wichita Falls paid their heartfelt respects to a child gone far too soon. It was February 27, 2020, when the police uncovered the tragic discovery of Logan Klein's body in a vehicle on Kenzie Avenue near the Red Roof Inn. This grim revelation came during an investigation unrelated to Logan, which involved a local resident, Zach Verdea. Among those present at the vigil was Zach, who recounted how deeply this tragedy resonated within the community. The heart-wrenching story struck at the core of many, especially those with children or younger siblings. Even those who had never met Logan felt compelled to keep his memory alive. One attendee expressed the pain of the situation, reflecting on their own family, stating how difficult it was to fathom such violence occurring so close to home. The discovery of Logan's body left the community with a multitude of unanswered questions. Carrie Pulowski, who taught Logan for just a brief period of 30 days, felt that something was amiss during his time in her class. Despite their short acquaintance, she recalled Logan as a quiet but sweet child. He seemed eager to make friends, yet there was an underlying sense that things were not right in his life. Pulowski articulated her concern, noting that the school had tried to intervene, making multiple attempts to secure help for Logan, but tragically, their efforts came too late. The school reached out to Child Protective Services on 4 separate occasions, but by the time action was taken, Logan had already slipped away into a new and tragic fate. The candlelight vigil offered a space for the community to come together and honor Logan, even for those who had never had the chance to meet him. In their experience, people often fade from memory far too quickly after passing. This gathering served as a poignant reminder of the importance of community support, as individuals united to remember Logan Klein, the quiet and sweet child that Pulowski cherished. The attendees committed themselves to keeping Logan's spirit alive, acknowledging the challenges of losing such a young life. They gathered not only to grieve but also to pray for him. A solemn prayer echoed through the night, a tribute to a life that was tragically cut short. Following his untimely death, a plate engraved with Logan's name was placed on the memorial wall in his honor. Logan's grandmother, Christine Barrow, initiated a GoFundMe campaign to cover the costs of his funeral, as his father was stationed overseas in Afghanistan at the time. The fundraiser garnered $2,279 in contributions. Logan's funeral took place on March 21, 2020, at Winters Funeral Home in Winters, Texas. It was a private ceremony, and he was laid to rest at Lakeview Cemetery. Though the exact date of his death remains uncertain, February 26, 2020 was inscribed on his grave, which reads, "Our beloved grandson, son, brother, Logan Nicholas Klein, July 14, 2008 to February 26, 2020. On a somber day, the memory of Logan Nicholas Klein, born on July 14, 2008, and tragically taken from the world on February 26, 2020, was honored. His cherished Rubik's Cube, a symbol of his playful spirit, lay delicately beside his headstone, accompanied by a wire sculpture depicting a baseball mitt cradling a baseball, evoking the joy he brought to those around him. Logan will be forever missed by all who loved him, leaving an indelible mark on their hearts.